I was on my second test flight with it when I lost my engine. I couldn't make it back to the airfield, and the only place really left for me to try to make it to, with all the hills and the forests, was a small lake at a nearby Boy Scout camp. So I aimed for that, and I overshot the bank, and I hit all these trees at about 70 miles an hour in the equivalent of a soapbox derby car with wings, with a motorcycle engine right in front of my face. I don't know how I didn't wind up eating it, but I did break all my ribs and ruptured both lungs. My right leg looked like a pretzel, had a hole in my lower back. It was pretty beat up there. They told my wife, you know what? We have about a week's worth of 6+ hour operations per day coming up. We could lose him any time. Some of these operations only have a 2% chance of success. So we think we should just put him into a coma. And she agreed. And so bottom line is, the best I can figure it is when they put me into a coma here, that began my near-death experience. It was more like I was teleported, if you will. It's like I just immediately appeared on a terrace of a tall building in a post-apocalyptic landscape. Imagine New York years after it had been hit by a meteor or a nuclear blast or something like that, just absolutely in ruins, absolutely dead. Yeah. And above it were these huge storm clouds. It was just like the mother of all storms getting ready to, unload the rain and maybe lightning and all that. And while I was looking at this, I wasn't afraid. I was just accepting of what I was seeing. And all of a sudden I was racked by a wave of nausea. And I remember just bending over with pain. And I said, I don't think I can stand this. And when I said that, I heard these light, like gear clacking sounds off to my left. And I looked over and saw something that was like a 4-story tall sculpture of an egg made out of lattice work standing up on its end. And it was within that egg, through that lattice work, I could see these little movements. And I, made my way over to it and looked through this lattice work. And I could see all these little freely suspended in air gears. And they were sector gears. The sector gear is a partial arc of a full gear, and it's designed to sweep back and forth with a certain limited motion. You see them in clocks going back and forth, and it helps move all the gears. It keeps time. And I've never really dealt with sector gears. I've never really seen a sector gear, but I knew that's what these were. And I put my hand through it to see if I could touch any of them, because while they were freely suspended, they just seemed to be able to pass through each other, something physically impossible. I also noticed that some were very clear and some were not so clear, like out of focus. But when I looked at them, it's like a video feed of what they represented played in my head. And I realized these were events in my future. How did I know that? If I saw myself, I looked older. If I saw my kids, they had kids now, things like this. So while I was reaching inside, one of the gears brushed by my hand. And when it did, I was racked with nausea again. And I reflexively grabbed it, pulled it out through the lattice work and threw it away. And then all of the gears started spinning around as if they were recalibrating for the loss of one. And that's when I started, talking. I mean, I said, wow, what's going on now? And this disembodied voice that stayed with me the rest of the experience said, this is the process of becoming. This is the future birthing into the now.
Now, let me stop. Can I ask you a second? You said disembodied voice. So you didn't see a being. You didn't see a being of light.
Nope.
You just heard a voice communicating with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. And, from there, I just said, as the machine was spinning around and recalibrating, I said, what's happening now? And it said each gear is the probability of a thought, word, or action in your future, and your destiny is resetting itself around what you've removed. And I said, how did I know I could do that? And it said, why are you here? And I said, I have no idea. I don't even know what this place is. And it said, you are in the in-between. I said, in between what? And it said, everything. And that the impossible now between the past and the future. And I said something cocky like, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And it said it's impossible in its short duration, yet here you are standing inside the eternity of a single moment. Do you remember who you are in the world to which your body belongs? And I just remember standing there with a blank look on my face. I had no memory. If somebody had come up to me and said, if you stay here any longer, you can't go back, I'd say, go back where? To your family. What family? I don't even think I would have known my name if you said, what name did you go by? I was depersonalized. It just felt like down to zero.
That's
like
interesting.
all that stripped away. Yeah. And anyway, when I said I have no idea, who I am or anything, it just said, then you see the truth and how the past is dust. And I said, so why do some of these gears, these futures that I touch make me sick and not others? And it said, all choices have unintended consequences. The pain each brings is your guide. So with that, I realized, okay, this must be my mission. I have an opportunity to, let's face it, kind of stack the deck, removing choices in my future that might be to my spiritual detriment. So I thought, all right, that's good. And at one point I said, where are the gears that feel good? I said, you're not here to feel good. That wasn't meant to sound menacing. It's like, you got an opportunity, limited time, you're on a mission, let's kick some butt. So with that, I just, kept reaching through there and removing a gear. The whole thing would recalibrate, and I just kept pushing on to do that over and over. And at one point, I saw this growing pile of gears, and I said, it looks like if I don't have a bad future, I have no future at all. And it said, your destiny has to fit itself around futures that aren't meant to be. Your number of breaths are already counted. I will worry about your last one. I said, I don't know how comforting that is. And it said, eliminating bad choices doesn't mean you won't make wrong ones. You won't know they're wrong until after they pass. Since right and wrong are variables over which you have no control, knowing what comes tomorrow is a waste. Better is understanding the beauty of how things fit and refit together. And at some point I said, so what am I missing here in my lack of understanding? And I said, clearly, what is before you? Grace. I said, no one deserves salvation. It can only be given by grace, but it must be chosen at the expense of the world that separates us. And I said, this fixing my future is painful, and it's also humbling because I'm not using some moral compass or mantra or, I have some religious figure or some even hero to sort of hang on to. I said, it's just about pain. And it said that really something profound. It said, if those with choices make poor use of them, then offering fewer possibilities could be called mercy. I thought about that, and I said, yeah, I get that. And I watched this one gear then pass by, disintegrating into dust as it went from the present into the past. And it said, you can't change the past, but you can make better choices in the future. Everything is interconnected, and pay more attention to your relationships. Be gentle with everyone as I am gentle with you. And I said, with the pain and everything, I said, gentle, what's gentle about all this? And it said, you prayed for something for which being here is the answer. And now the man who fell from the sky is not the same who flew into it. And with that, I remember took one last look out on this dead city. I put my hand on the egg and I said, I think I can live with this now. It basically booted me out.